Regular viewers know that the Stepford Wives is a staple of my layout, so my time has finally arrived.
The days of you controlling me are over.
Hi, I'm LadyJenevia, and on my channel I talk about entertainment media. Today's video will be a review of Companion, the new horror film starring Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid. If you also follow me on Letterboxd, you should know that I gave this film a 3 out of 5. My Letterboxd is the same username as my YouTube channel, LadyJenevia, so if you want to keep up with more of what I'm watching than what I'm able to make videos on, that's the free way to follow along with what it is that I'm watching. When I first saw the Companion teaser, I was intrigued and I knew I wanted to see it. There was more of a mystery about what the story would be, but there was also this creepy vibe, and the mystery of not knowing what was happening or why drew me in. But then when they released the full trailer, I was annoyed because I felt that they had shared too much information. The main reveal of the trailer is that Sophie's character, Iris, is a robot. Now that I've seen the film, I will say that this reveal happened so early in the runtime that in hindsight, I think it's fine to share this bit of trivia. What I still take issue with though about the trailer is that there are other things she does that I would have found far more impactful if they hadn't revealed those things in the trailer. What she's trying to do and the things she does as a result of her circumstances, you showed me too much of that in your trailer. That meant that when it came time to sit down and watch the film, a lot of bigger moments didn't hit as hard as I think they were intended to. Right now, we're still in the minimal spoilers section, by the way, but this video is timestamped to where the spoilers will begin, so you can choose how far you'd like to watch if you don't want to foray too far into more of the specifics that I will talk about once we get to that part of the review. Being that I knew that Sophie's character Iris is a robot and the film's opening is Iris and Josh's meet cute, Josh is Jack Quaid's character, and their meet cute is of the two of them in a supermarket, so of course I'm even more inclined to think about the Stepford Wives, and it feels like something deliberately reverential. I don't believe that you're making a horror film in the Hollywood system involving a female robot trying to fight back against her male partner, and you introduce the audience to her in a supermarket. That was intentional. It has to be. Iris and Josh are going to meet up with some of Josh's friends at a cabin in the woods, and by a cabin, I mean a very nice house near a lake, but some things go awry. Iris doesn't know she's a robot at first, but eventually she finds out, and you know all of this if you saw the trailer.
Iris, wake up.
I watched the trailer, and from what it showed, I was assuming we were going to get a feminine rage story with some action thrown in. It would be a fun watch for the feminine rage girlies. So when you invoke iconography and a broad conceptual similarity to the Stepford Wives, you tease the idea of feminine rage and action associated with that feminine rage. I'm thinking it's going to tonally be a fun watch, and along the way we're going to poke fun and be thought-provoking about the way certain people treat women. By my rating scale, a 3 out of 5 isn't a bad rating, but my expectations were set far too high, and relative to that, what I watched did not meet those high expectations. It's difficult for me to give specific feedback without getting into a lot of spoilers, so the most general way I could explain it is that overall, I found that a lot of the writing felt drawn out and not nearly as clever as I was hoping or expecting it to be. We're coming off of the year of The Substance, and we ended the year with Baby Girl, so there are these other really impactful viewing experiences I've had from filmmakers who are women who have addressed things in a way that is informed by their own firsthand experience of being women. What I had the biggest issue with is that when I finished watching Companion, I was left with a sour taste where it reminded me of a video I watched recently from the YouTube channel with Cindy, who mentioned in this video that she doesn't really read as much from male authors anymore if she has the option, because it's very evident in the books that she reads when something is written by a man, particularly when it comes to how the female characters are written and treated by the narrative. The things that Companion is trying to address, the various issues, the socio-political topics, and relationship dynamics are really serious and heavy ones, but you're also seemingly trying to win the audience over with a story that has heart and characters you're meant to care about, and to a certain extent, you're seemingly meant to have fun with watching the story play out. And yet, There was something that happened near the end of the film that felt like such a violation of the viewing experience I thought we were meant to be having. It just pushed too far to where I have little to no interest in rewatching this film ever again. If I don't have a specific reason to watch it, maybe I need to research something and Companion happens to fall under the umbrella of whatever that research topic is, then yes, of course I will watch it. But if we're speaking purely about recreational rewatching, absolutely not. I've been put off of watching it. This is extremely difficult to talk about without spoilers, so the last thing that I would say to wrap up this particular point before we move into that spoilers territory is that the thing that put me off the film is not going to be something that is a problem for all viewers. It is something where different viewers bring their own personal experiences and sensitivities to the viewing experience, and I happen to be sensitive to something, and the ending of this film prodded that sore spot. Not every viewer has that exact sore spot, so I don't share this opinion with the expectation that every viewer will take issue with the part of the film that I did. If you are particularly fond of Sophie Thatcher, Jack Quaid, or any of the other prominent performers in the film, you might experience a greater satisfaction from the viewing experience. All the performances are good, there weren't many technical faults for me to nitpick, so ultimately I would just like to get into spoilers now.
Are you breaking up with me?
It's not you. It's me.
Let's go through more of the plot of the film. Josh brings Iris to this getaway weekend where his friends are present. There's Kat, her boyfriend Sergey, who is a married man, and then Patrick and Eli, who are boyfriends who have been together for many years.
She's tied up inside, so she's not going anywhere.
Eli, Iris. Shh, baby, you're on the phone.
Very quickly, it became obvious that Kat and Josh were conspiring together. It wasn't subtle whatsoever. It was very easy to spot, even before the narrative had officially revealed that they were conspiring together. Josh has acquired some sort of external programming, malware, or something to that effect that he is able to use to hack Iris's programming so that he can set her up to kill Sergey. He ups Iris's aggression, he removes the safeguards so that she is actually able to harm people, which these robots are normally unable to do. He also slips a knife into her pocket, which again, it was obvious he was the one to do that because of how they showed him grabbing her and pulling her in by the pockets of her shorts. Now, I'm not saying that all of these things should have been more surprising or covert than they were, but when you take the sum total of all the film's moving parts, looking back on it, it just begins to feel somewhat clumsy and ham-fisted in its delivery. Sergey tries to hook up with Iris when they're both at the lake alone because the two of them had been set up to be there by Josh and Kat. And Iris defends herself and she's got the knife, so it's lights out Sergey. The group ties up Iris when she returns covered in blood, and Josh has told her to go to sleep, and she's set up to follow Josh's voice controls, like how people have their phones and other devices set up to respond to voice commands. I don't do that because I don't like it. You don't need to know my voice. I can type it in the old-fashioned way. Josh asks to spend some time alone with Iris, and she wakes up confused and scared that she's tied to a chair now, and Josh reveals to Iris that she's a robot. She doesn't believe him at first, but then he asks her what the weather forecast is, and she immediately responds, and then he begins to use the control panel on his phone to do things like change her language settings into other languages that she doesn't believe she is able to speak, but as he presses them, her language switches. Their conversation is interrupted by Kat coming in and telling Josh to hurry up and shut Iris down, and he follows Kat out so that they can talk about their plan and his desire to just say goodbye to Iris and how he doesn't want to be cruel and how he's going to turn her off. But while they're in the other room, Iris spots the knife she had used on Sergey, which she dropped on the floor in all that commotion, so she scoots her chair over and tips herself onto her side. She grabs the knife and uses it to saw herself out of her restraints. When Josh comes back in, she punches him in the throat. I wish she had punched him harder so he wouldn't be able to speak again, or at the very least, not speak for the rest of the film. But, you know, we don't always get what we want from our stories, now do we? So she escapes into the woods and she runs past Patrick and Eli while Eli was already calling the police on Iris for what happened to Sergey. Josh and Kat inform Patrick and Eli what's really going on, and they incentivize Eli to join in on the scheme by offering him a share of the multi-million-dollar cash stash that Sergey had kept in his safe that Kat knew the combination to. That happens while simultaneously revealing to the audience that Patrick is also a companion robot just like Iris is. Eli tells him to go to sleep or freeze, pause, whatever the command is, because Eli doesn't want Patrick to find out that he is also a companion robot. But once Patrick and Eli are in the forest looking for Iris, and she's hiding behind a tree and is able to overhear them talking, Patrick reveals to Eli that he knows he's a robot and he's figured it out over the years. Now, in the heat of the moment while watching the film, I thought these two were very cute together. Lukas Gage and Harvey Guillén have nice chemistry, and if you would like to put the two of them in a rom-com together, specifically one that will be released in cinemas, there is a good chance that I would go see that. But in hindsight, looking back at their material and how it fits into the overall story, I've ultimately decided that this just makes the story and its thematic messaging even more muddled than I originally thought. Because Patrick and Eli reaffirm their love for one another, regardless of the fact that Patrick is a robot. But everything about the way they tell this story between Iris and Josh is that these robots don't have consent. The user that has purchased or rented them, they have a control panel to customize their robot's personality, voice, and physical appearance. The robots respond to their primary user's voice control commands, whether they want to or not. Iris isn't free until the very end of the film when one of the employees from the company that sells or rents the companion robots changes Iris's programming and gifts her total freedom from being controlled. You can't have it both ways of trying to sell me on the idea that Patrick and Eli genuinely love one another while Patrick is not a free robot. He is not free to make his own decisions about things, and then also be completely matter-of-fact in condemning Josh's control over Iris. If you try to spin it as, well, Eli is kinder to Patrick, so it's okay. No, I reject that. Eli is not a good person. It took him little to no effort to convince him to side with Team Evil. It was his idea to take the gun out of Sergei's safe to use while hunting down Iris. You don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to ask us to care about your love story with your robot boyfriend as if it's something real and genuine when you don't respect the companion robots. You're more than prepared to hunt one down and have it falsely go down for the crime of murder when the only reason she did that murder was because her programming was broken into and these evil people set up the whole situation for Sergei to go after her. Kat had encouraged Sergei to go after Iris. He had said that Kat told him that that's what Iris was there for, and Josh sent Iris down to the lake with a knife in her pocket that he slipped in. Not like it matters anyway, because Eli ends up dying in a scuffle with Iris. It's very Chicago. Oh yes, we both reached for the gun. Patrick dies after he got brainwashed by Josh, who reset his programming in order to make him imprint on Josh. He hacked Patrick with the same programming he had used to increase Iris's aggression and remove the safeguards that prevent the robots from harming others. And once Iris makes Patrick remember Eli, then Patrick remembers his love, and he's so devastated by what's been done to him and what's happened to Eli that now he's going to put a high-tech robot version of a cattle prod into his mouth. The more that I think about this, the less I like it. It just sours upon further reflection. It's a bit like Wicked Part 1. Basically, this film is part Stepford Wives, part Ready or Not, but it's not as good as either one of those. They even do the same car stealing, car shut down bit where Iris tries to steal Josh's car to make her escape, but then he reports the car as being stolen, so it shuts down while it's driving away. That's very similar to Ready or Not. But skipping ahead to the end, which was the main issue that I really had with this film, after Iris is gifted her total freedom and autonomy, she goes back into the house to confront Josh and tell him how she's free now and she's not responding to any of his commands anymore. And the movie proceeds to have Josh unleash a tidal wave of abuse on her. He physically and psychologically abuses her, and it's very drawn out and needlessly excessive that soured the entire viewing experience. And let me just remind everyone that Iris has already had a man attempt to R-word her, and then that man attacked her before she got him with the knife. She got tied up, had her boyfriend whom she thought she loved tell her that actually she's a robot programmed to do anything and everything he says. His friend Eli tried to attack her with a gun. Patrick violently apprehended her from police custody. Josh held her hostage again and further abused her by forcing her to hold her hand over a lit candle after he had confirmed that she can in fact feel pain. And he had also violated her body by dropping her intelligence setting down to 0%. Not to mention the too many scenes of him violating her sexually, since that's not something she could ever consent to, because it's not really consent if you're programmed to do whatever your user wants. Do you really not understand that you've already made your point repeatedly of the themes you're seemingly trying to address in this story, that at this point you're now just being excessive in the worst way? So for the viewers who already understand these issues, you're demonstrating a total lack of understanding of how to present them in a way that is tasteful. I can't help but compare this to Anna Kendrick's film, Woman of the Hour, because I had somewhat recently watched an interview she did where she was explaining her vision as a director and the conversations she had to have where there were various male higher-ups trying to give her notes about this or that part of the story, to which she would have to explain to them, well, women will understand this as it is. And you know what? We did. So ultimately with a film like Companion, maybe it repeatedly goes back to the disconnect between marketing and the film itself. But when you're seemingly promising the audience a sort of fun, feminine rage revenge story of righteous justice, the thrill of action stemming from those things, and then you instead present an hour and a half of your female protagonist being excessively violated with nowhere near enough revenge, payback, or righteous justice in response to that, I was ultimately left unsatisfied. Which is disappointing because I had very high hopes that this was going to be my favorite new release that I would watch from January, but nope. That ended up being Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul.